Most men think if they can change, she'll automatically notice. They start working out, stay calm, stop fighting, maybe even read a few marriage books. But here's the truth. Your wife doesn't respond to what you change. She responds to how your change makes her feel. If she feels guarded, distant, or unsafe around you, she can't see the progress, no matter how much you've grown. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make your changes something she can actually feel, not just something that you say that you've done. Okay. So let's get real for a second. You've made real change. Maybe you've started hitting the gym, stopped reacting to anger, or even learned to keep calm when she pushes your buttons. You know you're different. She doesn't care. She still looks at you with the same distance in her eyes. And you're thinking, what more can I do? Here's what actually is happening right now. And it's one of the most hardest truths to hear. But it's the truth. Your wife isn't ignoring your change out of spite. She's literally can't feel it yet. Women live in feeling, not facts. She doesn't remember the moment you said sorry. She remembers how she felt when she heard it. She doesn't remember the last date you took her on. She remembers whether she felt safe, desired, and understood on the date. The difference between proof and emotion. You're showing her proof. She's still living in the emotion. See, inside the heroic husband method, we talk about something called EHP, or the emotional healing process. It's the first step in rebuilding what I call is emotional safety, because right now your wife isn't evaluating your changes logically. She's protecting herself. If she said things like, I just need space, I don't trust this version of you, that's not rejection, that's self-protection. She's built emotional walls because the old version of you hurt her, even if you didn't mean to. So every time that you try to prove your change, she's not hearing this new you. Her brain is replaying the old moment that made her stop believing in the first place. Her nervous system, not her logic, is the one that's driving the car. I work with this guy, we'll call him Jacob. His wife had been emotionally checked out for over a year. He'd done everything right. He was in therapy, he quit drinking, started journaling, and even sent her thoughtful texts every morning. But she didn't care. No response. Cold. One day he asked me, why doesn't she see how much I've changed? And I told him, because you've been trying to show her change, not let her feel it. Once he stopped trying to convince her with words and started showing up calmly, consistently, without pressure, she finally started to feel safe again. That's when she noticed. Think of it like this. Imagine your wife has been living in a house that caught fire a year ago. She still smells the smoke. You spent months rebuilding the walls, repainting, fixing everything, but she's still standing in the doorway, scared to walk back in. You can't convince her by saying, look, I fixed it. She needs to feel that it's safe again to walk in, breathe, and trust the air is clean. That's what emotional safety is. And until she feels that, she'll be blind to your changes. Not because she wants to, but because it's how she's protecting her heart. So, in the next part, I'm going to show you how to make your changes something she feels, not just something you say. Because that's when she starts to notice and care again. All right, brother, here's where most men get stuck. They make changes, real, visible ones, but they keep trying to prove they've changed. Now, I'm calm. Now, I'm showing up. I'm doing everything right. Why can't you see it? But here's the hard truth. The more you try to convince her, the less she believes you. Because proof doesn't rebuild trust, presence does. This is where we move into the next stage of the heroic husband method, which is the emotional layering protocol, specifically ESP, or the emotional shifting process. The emotional shifting process is about shifting the energy of how you show up. Instead of, look what I'm doing, you start asking, how does she experience me now? One question changes everything. Because she doesn't trust your intentions anymore, she trusts your consistency. She doesn't care about what you say you're working on. She's watching how you carry yourself when she's cold, distant, and angry. And every time you stay grounded instead of reactive, her nervous system relaxes a little bit. That's leadership. That's emotional safety she's been craving. So let's make this real. Let's say she brings something up painful from the past, and your first instinct is to defend or explain. Instead, You pause, you breathe, and you count 3 seconds in your head before responding. That pause right there, that's powerful because she's not testing your words, she's testing your energy. She's watching. Can I trust that he won't explode? Can I trust that he'll stay calm when I'm emotional? Every time you hold that line, she feels safer. Not because you told her you've changed, but because she felt it. Think of it like this. You're trying to light a candle in a windstorm. Every time you argue, explain, or prove, you're adding more wind. And the flame of connection just blows out again. But when you become still, when your presence is steady and calm, the wind dies down. And that's when the flame can finally catch. That's the shift. You go from trying to prove the fire exists to creating the space where it can burn on its own. So from this moment forward, stop telling her how much you've changed. Let her experience the man who's changed. When she feels your calm leadership, not your pressure, that's when her guard starts to drop. That's when she begins to believe again. And that's how the emotional shift begins. Next, I'll show you exactly what that looks like in action. The 3 simple phases that make her feel the difference and rebuild her trust from the inside out. Now that you understand she doesn't respond to what you say, she responds to how she feels. Let's break it down exactly how to rebuild that feeling step by step. It's called the ELM, okay? And it's built in 3 layers: healing, shifting, and bonding. These phases stack on top of each other like building blocks. Miss one, the whole structure falls apart. So let's walk through them one by one. This is where most men just skip ahead, but it's why she doesn't believe your change. And healing starts with taking ownership. Not just saying, I'm sorry, but showing that you understand what your past behavior did to her emotionally. Think of it like this. An apology is just words. Healing is behavior repeated over time. So instead of over-explaining or defending yourself, you create what I call as a space of vulnerability, a moment where she feels safe enough to give you feedback without shutting her down. One of my clients, James, used to immediately argue back every time his wife told him how she felt. During one of our sessions, I told him, you don't have to agree with her feelings, you just have to honor them. The next time she said, you never listen, instead of defending himself, he said, you're right, I've made you feel that way. I can see why you feel unheard. He didn't justify, he didn't explain, he owned it. That's when she stopped walking away from him mid-sentence. Because healing doesn't start when she forgives you, it starts when she feels safe again. Think of it like tending to a deep cut. You can't throw a Band-Aid on it and hope it heals. You've got to clean the wound. That is what ownership does. It stings at first, but that's part of the healing. Once you start rebuilding safety, it's time to shift the energy into the relationship. This phase is all about empathy and presence, connecting through how she experiences you, not what you tell her. So during this stage, she's watching to see if you react differently when things get emotional. So instead of trying to fix her emotions, you learn to hold them. You become the anchor when her emotions are the storm. Most men panic in the storm. They either fight or hide from it. The heroic husband learns to stand in it, calm, grounded, and steady. That is what the emotional shifting process is all about. Now we move to the final stage, which is bonding. This is where your consistency becomes connection. It's not about grand gestures, it's about small, repeatable moments that rebuild trust and attraction over time. Things like sitting down for morning coffee together, taking her car to get gas without being asked, or sending a message that says, hey, I'm thinking about you. No pressure. Those quiet, dependable actions that rebuild what words never could. One of my clients, Rob, used to overdo it. Flowers, long texts, big apologies. None of it worked. So I told him, stop trying to wow her, start trying to steady her. He committed to one simple thing. No matter how cold she was, he greeted her kindly every morning, calmly every night. 2 weeks later, she said, I don't know what it is, but I feel different around you. That's bonding. It's not about passion right now. It's about safety, familiarity, and subtle connection. Think of it like being the beach when she's the waves. The waves might crash, pull, come back stronger, but the beach doesn't change, doesn't chase, doesn't react. It stays steady, consistent, and welcoming. Over time, the waves trust the shoreline again. That's what phase 3 feels like when she finally starts to exhale around you. So remember, this is the process that makes her notice. Heal what was broken through ownership and calm presence. Shift the energy through empathy and emotional leadership, and bond through consistency, not performance. When you embody these 3 layers, she doesn't see the changes, she feels it. That's when everything starts to turn. So coming up next, I'll show you how these 3 phases work together to rebuild trust faster, and what most men accidentally do that pushes her further away even when they're trying to do the right thing. So let me tell you about a guy I work with. We'll call him Evan. When Evan first came to me, he was broken. He was sleeping on an air mattress in the guest bedroom. His wife shut down emotionally, no eye contact, no warmth, no interest in talking. He told me, I've tried everything, flowers, date nights, gifts, even therapy. Nothing works. And I said, that's because you're doing all the right things for the wrong reason. You're chasing results instead of rebuilding safety. So we stripped it all back. No more trying to impress her. No more long talks or prove it speeches. His only job for the next 21 days was focus on presence, calm, grounded, consistent presence. Every morning he greeted her with warmth, not expectation. Every night he said goodnight, even if she barely responded. And here's the part that mattered most. He didn't react to her distance. When she was cold, he stayed steady. When she tested him, he didn't crumble or fight back. He stayed calm, steady, reliable. Because that's what the new him looked like. Not dramatic, not desperate, but consistent. 3 weeks later, she walked in the room one night and sat down on the edge of the air mattress and said, something feels different about you. That moment, that tiny, almost invisible moment, was the start of her noticing. She wasn't saying it because he'd done something big. She was saying it because she felt something different. The energy had changed. The man she used to brace herself around had become the man she can breathe around. That's what I mean when I say consistency beats grand gestures every single time. You can buy flowers, book trips, send the apology text, but none of that matters and none of that means anything if she feels unsafe in your presence. The real magic happens when she can finally relax around you again. When she can feel deep down that the change isn't an act, it's who you are. Think of it like this. Imagine you've been walking across a bridge for years that suddenly cracked under you. You fell once and it scared you to death. Someone tells you, don't worry, I fixed it. Are you just going to run back across the bridge right away? No. You're going to test it step by step. Every time that bridge holds your weight, your fear fades just a little bit more. That's what your consistency does. Every calm response, every steady interaction, every day you lead without drama is another plank laid down, another step she can take towards trusting you again. Evan didn't win his wife back with romance. He won her back with reliability. He became the steady hand that she could reach for instead of the storm she had to protect herself from. That's your mission too. Don't chase her attention, earn her safety. Prove with words, lead with action. Because when she can feel your peace more than your pressure, that's when she starts to notice and care. But here's the thing. Most men blow this stage completely. They make a few good moves, then sabotage everything by trying too hard, way too soon. In the next part, I'm going to show you the biggest mistake men make right when things start turning around and how to avoid falling back into the pattern. All right, now let's talk about what not to do, because this is where most men lose all the progress they built. The truth is, when things start to shift, when she gives you small signs of warmth or little hope, that's when your old patterns start whispering, see, it's working. Go faster, say more, push harder. But that's exactly what kills momentum. Mistake numero uno, number 1, is over-explaining or defending your change. This is when a man says, I really am different now. Or, can't you see I'm trying? What he's really doing is making change about him again, his need for validation, not her need for safety. Remember, the moment that you start explaining yourself and shift the spotlight back onto your ego instead of her experience, she doesn't need another speech. She needs silence, long enough to feel that your words finally match her actions. I had a client, we'll call him Drew, who finally got his wife to start texting again after months of silence. But instead of staying calm and consistent, He texted her paragraphs about how much he changed, how he'd been working on himself, how he understands everything now. You know what happened? She shut down again because it felt like pressure, not presence. And he realized later, I wasn't being calm. I was campaigning. That's the difference. Mistake number 2 is acting calm just to get her approval. This is what I call performance peace or performing peace. You're being calm, patient, and understanding. But underneath, you're watching her reaction like a hawk, thinking, is this working yet? Does she see it? That's not calm. That's control with a polite mask on. True calm doesn't care about the outcome. It's steady because it's rooted in integrity, not approval. Mistake number 3 is expecting fast recognition. This is a big one. You think I've been doing this for 2 weeks? She should see by now. But here's the truth. She's not ignoring your change. She's testing it. She's watching if it holds when she's distant, cold, and emotionally or quiet. Because she's seen you change before for a week, for a month, and then go right back to the old you. So she's waiting to see if this time it's real. Don't take that as disrespect. Take it as an opportunity to prove consistency to yourself. That's the reframe I want you to lock in right now. Your consistency isn't to prove it to her. It's to rebuild your own integrity. Because if you keep showing up calm, grounded, and honest day after day, you start believing in yourself again. And when you believe in your own steadiness, she feels that belief too. That's when she stops testing and starts trusting. Think of it like working out after years of not hitting the gym. You don't live 1 week and expect abs. You show up because it's who you are. At first, no one notices, not your wife, not your friends. But one day someone says, hey, you look different. That's how emotional change works. It's slow, subtle, but it's solid. So don't perform the change, embody it. Because slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Don't change her recognition, build your rhythm. Because consistency isn't sexy in the beginning, but it's what makes her heart feel safe again in the end. So, as we wrap this up, remember, your calm isn't for her approval. Your consistency isn't for her attention. It's for your integrity. That's what makes you a heroic husband. Not a perfect man, but a steady one. That's the man she can finally notice again. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Your wife won't notice your change because of what you say. She'll notice it because of what she feels when she's around you. And to go there, you've got to walk through the 3 stages we just covered. Heal by owning your part in creating emotional safety again. Shift by showing empathy, presence, and calm leadership. Bonding by rebuilding small, consistent moments of trust one day at a time. That's the ladder every man has to climb when he's ready to go from lost to leading. But I want you to remember something important. You're not doing this just to get her attention. You're doing it to become the kind of man who doesn't need to chase it. A man who leads with calm, not control. Who creates peace, not pressure. Who rebuilds safety, not through words, but through who he becomes. That's what real masculine change looks like. And that's what she can finally feel. And listen, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I've tried on my own, but I feel stuck. I want her to see this version of me, and I don't want to lose my family in the process. Then I want to invite you to take the next step. Book a free call with me and my team. We'll walk you through exactly where you are, what's blocking your progress, and the step-by-step process to rebuild trust, respect, and connection. Even if she's emotionally checked out. You don't have to guess anymore. You don't have to walk this road alone. Brother, your marriage doesn't need a miracle. It needs a man who's ready to lead again. So if you're serious about turning this around, click the link below, book a call, and let's get you started on your turnaround story today. Remember, your change doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be real. You've got this.